The family of Dr. Edgar Chagwa Lungu have expressed that they do not want a state funeral, and this is a statement through their lawyer, Makebi Zulu, and Tasila Lungu, the daughter representative, and her husband, Mr. Mwansa. Listen to this.
Fellow countrymen and women, this is an address on behalf of the family of President Edgar Chagwa Lungu, the 6th Republican President of the Republic of Zambia. Between yesterday and today, we have had occasion to meet the government of the Republic of Zambia, represented by Honorable Lambo Haimbe. In our meetings, they requested to hear what the position of the family was as regards how the mortal remains of our former president will be dealt with. In dealing with this subject matter, a position was presented to the government of the Republic of Zambia. The position being that the family wished to respect the wishes of the former president of the Republic of Zambia. And the respect that has been accorded to him, as he wished could be accorded to him, was that he be buried in Zambia. And in being buried in Zambia, he took cognizance of the fact that he served the country faithfully and diligently, putting aside personal ones and putting the country back on a trajectory of development. Hence, the massive infrastructure development that he oversaw being undertaken in the country. And as such, he would not take away the reason, or rather, the obligation of every Zambian, or the desire of every Zambian, to mourn him with dignity. And as such, President Edgar Chagwa Lungu deserves the honors of being buried with the dignity that will be accorded to him by the Zambians. Through all this, he was cognizant to the fact that the government, under the watch of President Hakainde Hichilema, did not treat him as it ought to have. Sometime in 2022, he requested to travel for medicals in South Africa. The state rejected that request. That request was re-emphasized in 2023. The state responded by stating that it had no resources. In his response to the state, he stated that he would use his own resources. The state responded in a letter dated the 7th of September 2023, stating that his request was denied. Notwithstanding that the said travel was not for leisure or business, but for his health to be attended to. It should be known that at any given time, the state was aware of the ailment of President Edgar Chagwa Lungu. Having served in State House, and thereafter being former president, they knew what his condition was. Despite all that knowledge that they had, they still refused to allow him to travel. Fellow countrymen and women, you will note that at the time these entitlements were being denied him, he hadn't returned to active politics. He was still receiving other entitlements, such as the pay that is due to a former head of state. But as regards his health and his movement, those were heavily restricted by the state. In 2025, when the ailment exceeded and doctors traveled into Zambia, checked on him and advised that he should come to South Africa. That time, he had seized, or government had withdrawn all his privileges, and he traveled as an ordinary citizen. And he only booked a last-minute ticket was at the airport for purposes of not allowing the state to have enough time to connive and stop him. He arrived at the airport 30 minutes before boarding and eventually boarded. Those that dared to give him courtesies at the airport have since been fired. In our meeting with the state today, we made it open and clear that the family is not averse to certain privileges, though having been taken away from him, to be accorded to him as he earns them. Fellow countrymen and women, you will note that upon his travel, doctors in South Africa did express a concern to say that had he traveled earlier, they could have made certain interventions that would have served him well. And this would not be the discussion today. However, they proceeded to take measures that were necessary to sustain him and to remedy that of the desires of President Edgar Chagwa Lungu himself and the family. As the family mourns, they call for unity, they call for sobriety, they call for introspection, that this should not be a cause for division, but should be a cause for unity. And as such, any imposition from the government that goes against the desires of the family will not be accepted. However, we remain amenable to a win-win situation that accommodates all the views of the stakeholders involved. I thank you.